Hey everybody, welcome to Leon's Chainsaw Parts and Repair. Happy Saturday morning. Looking at a saw that I was given, basically. I just paid to get it shipped here. Shawn, he said he's owned it since the saw was new, which means he's owned it since somewhere in either late 1969 or early 1970. So that's quite a run. He said it's always been reliable for him, but then it was last summer he was using it and it got hot on him and scored the piston. So, he had emailed me and asked if I could use it, and I said, sure, what do you want for it? He said, I'll just cover the shipping. So I did, and sight unseen, I figure, pretty much any easy automatic is going to have parts on it that can be used in, either by me or in the store for you guys. Anyhow, this is the saw, and this is where nostalgia or appreciation for Homelite, whatever you want to call it, it gets in the way of good business sense. And what I mean by that is I can break this saw apart 4 parts and make 3 times, well, at least twice what I would make by restoring the saw to a running condition and selling it as a runner. So all I've done is pulled the muffler cover so that I could get a good look at the side of the piston, and it's scored. There's no question about that. Let me see if I can get the ring. There we go. But it ain't that bad. Notice that ring. What the hell's going on there? It's at the top of the piston and there's only one. Well, this, I don't have any idea what the history is on this. I truly don't. I know that this is referred to as a Dykes ring, D-Y-K-E-S, or apostrophe S. So I'm assuming it's named for somebody who designed this type of ring, and what it is it just rides on the top of the piston, and it's a wide band. I don't know that it's a full 1/4 inch, but nah, it isn't. 3/16 though, I'd be willing to guess that it is. Anyhow, that's the way it's designed. This saw still has compression. And we're going to find out exactly how much compression it does have. I hadn't intended to do that, but now that we're here, I have changed my mind, or amended what we're going to do. Okay. Now this does have an incorrect spark plug in it. That is a gasketed plug as opposed to a tapered one. So, ironically, that's going to make it easier for me to get it out, but it's not correct for the cylinder. Oh boy, yeah, she ran lean and hot. And it rolls over smooth though, and you can hear that nice wow. Yeah, like I say, the most sound business case right now would be to split this thing apart and sell off the pieces. But as long as what's going on here? As long as this cylinder isn't jacked up, I'm going to replace that damn piston. I'm going to get this saw running. I already have one in my collection, so it will get sold off to you guys, to one of you guys. But, yeah. Let's see. Come on, baby. Where we're at. I never I can keep this where you guys can see it all that well. It jumps all over the place. First pull to, we'll call that 66. Second pull to about 89. Third pull to 110. Fourth pull to 130. Fifth pull to 140. Sixth to 150. I'm not going to go any further than that. That tells me all I need to know. One time getting hot did not end this saw. And that's actually pretty cool. If this was a modern saw, pretty sure it would be junk. This one is not. I can't in good conscience break it for parts. So we're gonna put a piston in it. But I'm also gonna want to find out what the hell happened. Why? Why did it get hot and fail? Now that looks suspiciously like either an air filter I've repaired or sold a grommet for. Okay. Oh, fuel line. Oh yeah, fuel line is destroyed. It's mushy as crap. Just pushing on it, it's separated right there. So we've got a little bit of that to deal with. Let's get some parts out of the way here. Ooh, something on them. Oh, it's been repaired. Yeah. Brazed, I think. Not bad. Oh, yeah, it's got that early style 3-shoe clutch. Rim's not all that worn. Wow. It's a really good looking saw. Ah, okay, here we go, folks. Now we're getting to the meat and potatoes. All the crap that's in here. Between that rotten fuel hose and all this garbage that's plugging up the airways, that's why she got hot. Potentially a leaking crankcase seal, or a crankshaft seal. Potentially. Hard to say. But that's why she got hot. Wow. Okay. Well, I want to do one more thing before I break the video and get some work done here. I want to test the spark and make sure it's good. Obviously, I've got some pretty good cleanup work here. It's going to involve the garden hose. So I want to test the spark before I get everything wet, because I don't care how careful you are, you're going to get water in the points. And if you test good spark before you start running water, you know you'll have it when you dry everything out. And that is good spark. Alright. Oh boy. Yeah, this is definitely not going where I thought it was going to go. I almost want to pressure test the crankcase before I crack that cylinder off, just so that I know what else I need to do. And I may. I really just may. Well, let me get a little disassembly work done, and I'll come back and update you on what I've decided to do here. Real quickly, before I get this cleaned up, I wanted to show you guys just how bad this has gotten. So, if this had been cleaned out on a fairly regular basis, air or, you know, water would have cleaned this out halfway, pretty well actually. But it started to harden. See that? You know, it's really caked in there pretty hard. And this passageway between the crankcase and the fuel tank to get air through, so it should be blowing air through and exhausting it around the drive case. How much air do you guys think's making it through there? Not a bit. So in a case like this, if you guys are working on a saw and you get it, what we saw before, get the flywheel off. Even if you have no other reason to pull it, get the flywheel off so that you can actually get behind here and get this crap cleaned out. Because the way this one was, if I had just hosed and hosed and hosed, yeah, we could have cleaned everything we'd seen. But that airway between there, no, wouldn't have done squat. So anyhow, I'm going to start working on cleaning this up and we'll come back. Okay, got some more parts off and got this cleaned out. That's what it ought to look like. Save that little piece of stuff. What the hell that is. Yeah, should be some air movement around there. So I've got the points coil off because really you can't clean it until you've got all that out. Now I will say that this little felt washer that goes underneath the points box was black as black can be. So when we crankcase pressure test this thing, I'm fully expecting that seal to leak. It may not. That may just be discolored because of crap. But we'll see. We will see. So before I even hosed it off, I got started on the prep for the crankcase pressure testing so that I could keep the internals of the engine dry. And I put my rubber block off between the carb and the intake manifold here. This is a real nice setup, the way this is done, because you can pop that air box off and you're not breaking the crankcase seal, unlike, you know, with a Super XL or something. So that's in there. So our only other point of block off, I take that back. Let me grab the decompression pin. The only other point of block off is going to be under the muffler. What we have to keep in mind is with the decompression valve, we have a natural leak point right there, because that's what it's designed to do, is leak when you set that to make it easier to start the damn thing. So we don't want to put that, you know, in there, pump it up without even thinking and blow it halfway across the garage and not be able to find it. So I'm going to leave it out for now where I can find it, and then when it's time to pressure test, and I have to hold that in place, whether I just, you know, put something on here to hold it or just hold it with my hand, it doesn't matter. But any saw that has that style decompression valve, watch out for that. That's a little hidden trap. So let's go ahead and get this muffler blocked off. And again, I don't use steel block off plates. I just use what's easy and at my disposal. And using what came out of here is easy and at my disposal, provided those screws are long enough, and they are. So I've got some pre-cut rubbers that I have used before, and I just need to find the one with the right bolt spacing, and I just found it. So I'm going to start these screws with a screwdriver to make sure I don't F up the threads. There we go. There we go. Yeah, it's rubber. You don't have to get too crazy with it, and that's part of why I like it. So now I can get the spark plug out of the way and say I wanted the engine sealed up as well as possible so that I didn't fill it with water. Even though we're going to have it cracked open, that doesn't really matter. I've got other videos that talk about the hose and, you know, all the stuff that I'm using here, so I'm not going to go into all that stuff again. There's definitely options for how you do this. The way I do it doesn't mean it's right for everybody, but it definitely works for me. Other than on this morning, this hose is going to be stiff as a board. Alright, could have been worse. Alright, now see, that's what's coming out of that decompression valve. Now I also noticed a little bit of water. And with the way I blocked this off, I'm real curious how that could have happened. But my original suspicion of this seal, since I was blasting water right at it, my suspicion remains. So I'm going to put that pin in, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to pump this up. I was going to go to 10. Now you guys will be able to see that. She is leaking. I don't know if I can get to 10. Not in this awkward angle. That's a pretty fast leak down. So where is it leaking? Okay, so part of it is around that decompression valve. That's not abnormal. There's also not a lot you can do about that. Because Homelite had a special tool for reaming carbon off of those seats, and I don't have one of those. Nor do I expect to get one anytime soon. So in a pinch you could use a drill bit, but God, would you have to be careful. And you wouldn't do it with power. Oh! Well now. There is something I actually haven't seen on a Super Easy or an Easy Automatic before. Check that out. That cylinder gasket is leaking like a mofo. And now it's starting to make some more sense. Where was all the crud? Right over here. Well, we've been blowing fuel. Minute amounts of fuel would have been blowing out of here too. That's really super interesting. That's really interesting. I'll be damned. Well, we're just having a barrel of fun here, so I didn't pop this this clutch off. But this seal's not leaking on pressure. And since I know that decompression valve's leaking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to build a whole lot of vacuum here. Okay, I did. And I can see that it's not pulling anything around that crank seal. I can see the bubbles aren't moving. But I can see bubbles that are moving as it sucks it back in around here. I'll be damned. That's interesting. Okay. Not at all what I expected to find, but informative nonetheless. I'm going to take that back out before I lose it. So, that was a super slow leak. What I'm inclined to do is once we get this out, I may have to run down to Harbor Freight and get a set of brass bottle brushes or something like that to kind of clean that out, and then do this on the bench grinder. That might be the easiest way to dink around with that. Say, it'll never be perfect. And that leak wasn't terrible. But no leak would be better than a not terrible leak. But we'll just clean it up as best we can. That's really all that can be done. I'm not gonna get too upset however it turns out, because I know it'll be okay. You might ask, well, how do you know? And I will simply say, because I've done enough of them to know how this is going to turn out. Alright, well, that craps out. Oh, shoot. I'll put those rubber block offs away later. We can get them the hell out of the way at this point. So I am curious as to why the hell that cylinder gasket leaked. That's just something I don't see on Homelites. So, where, there she is. I want to see how tight. Oh, that's not tight at all. And Homelite, I'm assuming this has never been off. Homelite didn't use lock washers on this. And yes, I realize I'm going to ignite the debate among whether that some people have about whether lock washers work or not, but I shouldn't be able to loosen those that easy. I'm not putting any pressure on that at all. So that, my friends, oh man, I hate these things. So hard to get anything in there to tighten that one down effectively. Right in that corner, that's always the worst one. This is another reason why you want to get everything cleaned up, so that you can actually spin it off the way I just did. Because if you're sitting here fighting it with a wrench going 1/8 of a turn, you're going to be here a while and you're not going to be happy about it. Unless you find a super low profile ratcheting, you can't even get the box end in there. And even with the cleanup, I'm having a little bit of fun with this one. Okay, this side should be a little easier. God, these were just not tight enough. That's too bad. That wasn't enough of a leak to, I mean, you'd be able to tune it out of the carb, no problem. But it's definitely why it made that mess. Minute amounts of fuel mixture coming out, sawdust mixing with it, over however many decades. That'll do it every time. Come on. Even with the grippies on this glove, it's a pain in the ass. Come on, baby. Alright. Those nuts out of the way where we can find them again, and let's have a big reveal here. Yeah, the ring's not seized by nature of the way it's designed. Piston's scored. It's not super deep. So now comes the question, is the cylinder salvageable? And since it was still making 150 pounds of compression, I'll bet that it is. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh geez. I can still see some crosshatch from the old honing. I don't know that you guys will be able to. This is getting a new piston slapped in it. I cannot justify breaking this down. So, okay. Gotta go dig through my K-Rapola and either find one or order one on eBay. I know they're out there, and I know they're not that expensive. So I'm going to amend something I said earlier. This saw will go up for sale if Shawn doesn't watch this video and decide that he'd like his old Homelite back. That's the only fair way to look at this, because he contacted me under the impression that it was done. And we now know it's not done. So he's going to get first dibs on this saw for whatever it costs to repair the thing. So I'm going to gather some stuff. I need to get a gasket. If I have one on hand, I may not. I may have to order it. This may have to wait a while. But a gasket and a piston, we could put this thing back together and have it running today if I have that stuff on hand. Okay, so obviously I had what I needed here on hand. Kind of got a little distracted when the phone started blowing up. We had 3 trees come down on campus, and then a bunch of 3 exhaust fans and 2 vent hoods on the roof of a building that was remodeled not that many years ago. Come to find out, the roofing contractor somehow, or whoever was supposed to install them, I shouldn't say it was the roofer, but they never mechanically fastened these down. So these big exhaust fans that have a 2-foot by 2-foot base, you know, it's got to be a good horse motor, have been sitting up there for, what, 4 years now? And we finally had wind bad enough to blow 2 of them, or blow one of the vents off in one of those exhaust motors. So I get up on the roof, that damn exhaust fan is running upside down, being held on the roof by the freaking MC cable. Ask me if I was happy about that. Anyway, we're back to chainsawing now. So it's together, the engine is, and I wanted to go through the throttle handle, and I didn't take this apart, this part of, on camera, so I wanted to show you. This is the tension spring for the decompression valve. Don't take this crap off unless you absolutely have to. And the only absolutely have to I can think of is that spring is broken. Otherwise, this is a miserable pain in the ass to get back in. It's far easier to do what I'm about to do right here. I'm going to show you guys on camera. So, get your spark plug wire started through there, and if we can, to hold it in place, I want to put the grommet in. There we go. And you've got to feed your oil line through and make sure it lines up. And get started, and we're going to actually, the nut didn't come through here. Come on, baby. We're going to start it as soon as we can. As soon as I get it lined up here. And it appears that line is a little bit bent. Gotta be careful doing what I just did. You don't want to kink it, but man, you gotta get this nut and line straight enough that it doesn't try and cross thread. I'm not all that terribly convinced that I've found that magic spot yet. But I'll know real quick here. Doesn't start, and I don't start seeing threads disappear here real soon, stuff's still awry. And some stuff's still awry. So I hadn't intended on this. But I guess it's good, because this can happen to you. Now, as long as I didn't get it, whoopsie daisy, bent too far down, I'm going to pre-tension it with the screwdriver and see if I can get it to catch that first thread. And I think I did. Yep, I did. And I'm turning it easy enough that I know it's not cross-threaded. These are aluminum fittings, so that tells you exactly how many chances you have to get it right. 1. And then you're replacing the line and or the fitting. Probably both. Alright, let's get that thing in place. We'll wait on the grommet until everything's 100% seated. I think I can install that from the inside. That's the way it was before, so that's the way I'm going to try and go back. Alright. I don't want to hook this up yet until I get these screws installed. I've got 3 screws that hold the air box on and throttle handle. Come on, baby. And right now, none of them are lined up. Okay. I'm going to get this one close to tight just so that it pulls everything up and into place, but I'll leave a little slackaroo. Okay. And this one ought to go now. This was a pain in the ass coming out. That sounded like a good sound, I think. There she goes. When that's angled down, there's no way to do much more than this. One place where a 5/16 ratcheting box end wrench would actually be fairly useful. I've looked at them and I've resisted. The good ones are expensive and the cheap ones are only a little less expensive. I guess until I run into something on my Silverado that forces me to buy them, I probably won't. But we'll see. There is no room to get a socket in here of any type. At least not any type of socket I have. Even a wobbly on a 1/4 inch, that'd be a pretty janky angle. Don't forget about your bottom one here. Mucho bettero. And don't get crazy on those either. I've seen plenty where this ear is busted off. And when it's busted off of the crankcase itself, you've got a problem. Alright. That is together. Now, what do we have missing? We've got the spring that needs to go in place. And we've got the actuator rod. You got the bottom plate, the top plate that forms an axle or a hinge point for this axle, if you want to call it that, and you got your screws. So at this point, we're going to hook up the decompression spring. By hook up, I mean slip it into that groove, just like that. See how easy that was? Reverse when you're taking it apart. Before you ever try to take this throttle handle off, get a good pair of pliers, lift in, and set it to the front. You can try to set it to the rear, because that'll make it a little easier coming off, but it puts it in a weird bind. I just go to the front, and you can kind of rotate this thing, and it'll come right out. Oh, we need our throttle lock pin. So the only thing that holds this throttle lock pin in place is this rod. Okay? Oh, and I'm puking a little oil. Let me hook up this front oil hose so I don't make a mess out of what is basically a clean saw at the moment. Okay. I'm also going to jam a wedge back under the door. Now listen to the wind moving it open and closed. Alright. So, there's only one way that this can go. And I was wrong. We want to put the rod in first. I forgot. I always do this. I'm going to set that back. Get the rod in. I'm going to get this choke rod completely out of the way. Okay. So there's only one way this can go. Only one way. And that is it right there. So, you've got two pieces. When you turn them upside down, one bulges a lot, the other's just a turn. The turn goes down first. And the other piece completes the puzzle. And you get your screws started. She goes. And that creates your pivot point. Now, with the valve seated, drop your spring in place. That way you're not fighting the springs, you're trying to get the rod in. So what you're looking for is you push, should open the valve, and when you let up it ought to close. That's it. If it does that, it's working. So, alright, I'm going to finish getting this thing put together, and with any luck, come back for a test run. Alright, we have reached that magical time. Test run. I haven't changed the carburetor. Figured we'd just start it, see what she does. Acts a little lean. See what she was on. Just a hair over 1 open. Get to about 1.5. God damn this thing. Come on. These HDCs, some of them, maybe all of them, but some are touchier than others. If the high speed is closed off too much, it impacts your low side. And that is what this one was doing. Just making sure. Well, that's about the normal amount of spit back there. Reeds looked good, but worth checking. Anyhow, super happy with the way this has turned out. Like I say, Shawn's going to view this video first, and depending on what he wants to do, this will either be posted as a repair video or a repair and a for sale video. So the ending has yet to be written, but we have a good running saw. Okay, it's a couple weeks maybe later from first part of this video. No big surprise. Shawn wants this bad boy back. Needless to say, he was quite surprised when he saw the video and what it took. So I think it's going to be really cool to reunite the saw with its proper owner, where it just didn't turn into the catastrophe that it could have. And it's going to be a pretty minimal repair bill, all things considered. So anyway, it's really neat to see that pan out. He had sent me the bar and chain too. I'm looking at this. This is a full chisel chain and it needs a little help. So I'm going to run it across the grinder, close the bar rails and grind them flat and get that thing boxed up and heading back to him. So that's a nice ending to this story.